Well, greetings everybody. This is more or less a video that I want to share with everybody, but it's for my daughter-in-law Megan. I've never met her before. My son Yisrayl, he was having problems when he was a youngin'. Megan explained that Yisrayl likes to get into some of the stories of things that took place while he was growing up. There's one story, of course, that I know that he cannot portray completely because it was a time in his life after a horrible divorce with the ex, that was a non-believer. And she desired to go her own way, and I had no choice but to let her, especially the way she did it, which was horrible. And I had been arrested and put in jail for domestic violence, but when it came down to me being prosecuted for such, and I pulled down my sleeves and I showed all the scabs. I mean, she just about tore off every bit of hide on my arm. I'm amazed that the hair actually even grew back because the daggers she had tore them out. And she was trying to put out my eyes, and I blocked, and I never struck the woman or anything like that. And, when I walked in the court, of course, the judge wants me to plea. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I plea there, Judge. I said, I plea I'm guilty of my own evidence, my own testimony, which I'm giving you right now. I did not touch that woman, and I do not agree with anything that was put in by those that persecute me. But yes, my own evidence I am guilty of, I said, and if you've got any proof or evidence that shows that I have caused anyone any harm or damage, since the medical files that should be filed in order to produce this claim against me should show that there was damage to this woman before files, before charges or anything else, before I was arrested was conducted, should have been filed, and there is none whatsoever. She suffered no injury at all, but look at me, and my arms were completely scabbed over. And I said, Your Honor, if you've got nothing else to say, I'll be on my way. Thank you very much. I turned around, I walked out of the courtroom. Nobody stopped me. So I guess pleading guilty to my own claim, my own evidence worked pretty well. It wasn't too much longer. My son, Yisrayl, he kind of got like a little rebellion in his heart going on. We had a little problem, but everybody does. And he started skipping school. So therefore, the truant officer comes down. Oh man, I hated these things. It's just part of the tests and trials that we go through, and you learn some wisdom from these things. But truant officer came, and then next thing you know, I'm being served. They got to go to court because Yisrayl's not going to go to school. And I talked to him. I said, son, you got to go to school, or they're going to try to put me in jail. Oh, okay, Dad. Well, he never went back to school. And I can't blame him. I really can't, from what they're treating and teaching these children in school today to do is exactly what's going on in the world today. They're treating us like cattle. Oh, you gotta wear your mask and this and that and all these different things going on, and the way they've got you spaced out from everybody, and just wearing the mask. I wore it here on Friday. I went out and did some shopping, and I really feel horrible. When I put it on, went into Price Chopper, it wasn't 2-3 minutes later, I felt like I was going to pass out and fall out on the floor. And I took the mask off in disobedience of the law, of course, and I breathed some air. It's like, man, and I put it back on. I came across a woman in the aisle. She was stocking shelves and wanting to know if she should move back, and it's like, no, you're fine. I says, why they made these masks unlawful not to wear? And she says, no. I said, well, it's because there was this doctor, this lady doctor that brought out some facts about how the virus spreads, and it's nothing like is said. She even called Dr. Fauci, or whatever his name is there, that appears with President Bush all the time, with the lady with the kerchief. They both got interest in the WHO and in Gates Foundation and other places where they're making vast amount of monies and hoping to make a vaccine to make a large amount of monies, but this lady doctor says that if you wear a mask, in the old days it used to be the doctors told you, if you're feeling bad, get plenty of fresh air. So now they've made it unlawful by a doctor's word that's got, his ideas into the investment in these money. He has private interests. He's got these interests in money using the government to make him more money because of the deaths and everything else, and people are going to want the vaccine that he's going to eventually acquire through others and promote. But the thing is, when you're breathing in your own air, it's supposed to be breathed. That's why you breathe it out. So it don't come back in the quantities that it is when it's confined in a mask, and it makes you sick and makes you ill. It opens up these arenas for many different viruses and germs and diseases that we already have in us, that breathing fresh air hinders. And she's like, wow, I didn't realize that. I said, well, yeah, that's what it's all about. I said, it's not me saying this. It was a famous doctor, and I forget her name, but let me see if I could see it real quick here. Yeah, Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy Mikovits. And this is another video that she put out. And I tried to listen to it earlier, but since I wore the mask on Friday, here it is right now. It's Sunday, first few hours after midnight, and I'm still not feeling proper from what I had done, from wearing the mask. I tell you, I went in the store, I felt like I was going to faint 2-3 times at least. I left there, I went over to Dollar Tree. I put the mask back on, which was just across the road on my bicycle, but getting in there to get some supplies I needed, knowing that pretty soon the aluminum foil and baggies and things of this sort going to be cut off, most likely, because the way things are going. A lot of these conveniences that we have are going to end up in the old days, when you needed Crocs or something to ferment your vegetables and such, because there's going to be some major changes coming up. That's why this fellow's going to come to promote peace throughout the world. Peace and security ain't right yet, okay? It's coming. But anyway, I really felt bad, and then I went off and I ended up at another store, and I felt bad again. I went to the house, I dropped off all the groceries on my bike. I got back on, went down to Stewart's, bought some milk and some other things. And man, I really felt bad again because I had to put the mask back on, and and I've got allergies, I've got asthma and emphysema and such, that I use a Clonia cava extract. And I'll tell you, anyone that's got these problems, use it. You'll be able to throw away your breathalyzer before too long. It won't cure a thing, but it gets rid of it. Okay, that's about the best I can say about it, and it helps a lot. But it was like I was being waterboarded, where they put the cloth over your face and they pour water over it, and they made it illegal, this torture, but yet that's what kind of takes place with some of us when we put on masks and we go on into the stores where, people are afraid of that VIR US thing that can't even be contracted between people, as far as what the doctor had stated and I showed earlier. But anyway, I've been feeling kind of crappy and all that, and I don't want to bring out scriptures in the state of mind that I'm at, because it's not confusion, it's a lack of confidence that I can think properly sometimes. And that's why I wanted to bring this video out, for your all entertainment, as well as to humiliate my son in hopes that, he'll smile about it, remember it, and say, yeah, this is the way it took place to Megan, my daughter-in-law, and their children. Because Israel wasn't always the star student. Very intelligent, that young man is, I'll tell you what. He's very intelligent. He was my child. And I taught him things that the rest of this world may never know, if they don't wake up. If they wake up, they'll understand these things too. But I showed things to my sons and my daughters that, most, and I don't want to be boastful or anything, but I've forgotten more things than most people on the earth today will ever know. Okay? So anyway, I end up in court. My son, he's sitting there because he's pretty confident. He knows the laws of man well because I taught him of these things. And the judge is sitting there, and I told the judge, I says, hey, here you want to condemn me for this boy here that you claim that you own. You own him, you take care of the little shit, because I'm not interested. I tell him to go to school, he don't go to school. It's on your head, not mine. You own them because you're the county, and the county is part of the state, and the state wants to say you own my children, so therefore I shouldn't be held liable for what is yours. Should I? Well, it ended up I had to pay, I forget what it was, $45 or whatever for the court costs. And I told my son, it's like, hey, you owe me, boy. And he paid me. He did pay me for it. But after we left the courtroom, I took him out to Dairy Queen, which in those days, this is a few years later than several years ago. And I didn't know of the uncleanness that was in the ice cream and such. And I bought him an ice cream, I forget what it was that he got, but, it was, big thing of some sort, with some candy bars or something ground up in it. I don't actually remember what it was. And I got a cup of coffee. And I sat there with him, and he's eating on them. We didn't say much at all at first. And then I looked at him. I said, son, I says, I've got to tell you something that I want you to pay particular attention to the words that I'm going to say, because it's very important. He says, all right, Dad. And he kind of sat back in his chair, like youngins do that think that they've already won the battle, starting to eat his ice cream. And I said, first thing I remember knowing was a lonesome whistle blowing, and a youngin's dreams of growing up to a right. On the last train leaving town, not knowing where I'm bound, No one could steer me right, but my mama tried. Mama tried to raise me better, but her feedings I denied. Leaves no one here to blame, but my mama tried. Mama tried. Mama tried to raise me better, but her feedings I denied. Leaves only me to blame, 'cause my mama tried. Well, dear old daddy, rest his soul, he left my mom a heavy load. She tried so very hard to fill his shoes, working hours without rest to buy me the very best. She tried so very hard, but I refused. And I turned 21 in prison, doing life without parole. No one could steer me right, but my mama tried. My mama tried. Mama tried to raise me better, but her feedings I denied. Leaves only me to blame, 'cause my mama tried. Leaves only me to blame, 'cause my mama tried. And my son was rather embarrassed because everybody in Dairy Queen is looking over at me, explaining to my son where he was headed, and their eyes were on him as well. I don't think he finished his ice cream. I can't remember. But I think he kind of put it down and asked if we can leave, and we did. But anyway, Megan, children, I wanted you to know this story about your daddy, because he couldn't have told it the way I just did. And you know, the world is so messed up, man. It's so messed up, and it's going to get worse. But I want everyone you to know that I love y'all, and you know, some of the things our mamas taught us was all right, and some of the things that our mamas taught us wasn't. Eating pork chops and such, the unclean, was far from being all right. Going to church wasn't cool. But there were principles that every mama teaches her children, where you shouldn't murder, and you shouldn't steal, and things of this sort. You should listen to those things and forgive our parents for the things that, you know, they was led astray on. They just didn't know. But now, hopefully, y'all know better. You know what the scriptures are saying, because you see in the scriptures what it actually says. And if you have questions, you know, please, you know, just subscribe to the channel and, you know, click the little bell to be notified when I bring out a video here and there. When I start feeling a little better, I'll bring out some. I want to bring out some about the dung of the earth. I just want y'all to know that I do love you. You're in my prayers every day. Every one of you that come to these videos, you are in my prayers. It's an automatic thing. Whether it's for you or against you, you know, you are in my prayers. And I hope that we all come to learn to keep the 10 Commandments by keeping the give or take 613 laws, the schoolmaster that learns us enough to come to our King and to trust in him only. And to trust in him only and to walk as he walked, you have to keep the commandments. You have to keep the laws, because our King did. You cannot walk as our King did, thinking that once saved, always saved. And I'm going to tell you, there's some stories about the once saved, always saved. There's a fella here that's in some of my older videos, and I almost feel bad about going back and apologizing to some of those that ended up in the spam, because, like, holy bovine, man. I wrote them, I apologize, and they're like chickens on a June bug, you know, and and trying to tell me, well, you can't be one of the 144,000, and then ask me, are you married? Well, and saying, I dare you to answer. Oh, it drove me nuts the first 10 times he done it. It's like, look, man, I'm telling you, don't tell me that again. Don't ask me. Don't suggest that. Don't do this. I answer every comment that I'm notified of, as long as it's not vulgar. I will answer everybody that comments. You don't have to dare me to answer your silly ass questions. And then he's, well, are you married? And I knew right from the start, this guy's gonna pull on one of those things about the 144,000 being virgins, not understanding there is a spiritual aspect to what it speaks of about the 144,000 being virgins. Today on the earth, I don't know if there is 144,000 virgins, because people are so perverted that they're children. I heard him, I'm not even going to get into it, but to think that there's 144 virgins actually on the earth, unless they was born like today, the way some people are, it's hard to believe there's that many. And to think that there's going to be men that are old enough to have wisdom and understanding enough to be able to instruct people how they can keep the laws and the commandments of our Heavenly Father, so they can love our King and trust in Him only, because He came, and according to the prophecies, He had to have kept every single law and commandment. If He didn't, then He's not our King. And this fellow's, oh, see, because I wrote him, I told him, I says, I had a wife, and she was barren and brought forth 7 children. There were a few miscarriages, and I'm sorry to say, but, there were 7 children. Even Samuel's mother gave a prayer about a woman in the last days being barren, bringing forth 7 children. Whether she was the one I had or not, I don't know. But there was a voice that came from nowhere when I was working on painting the eaves on a roof one day, and I had my bib overalls on, and I was painting away, and I heard a voice say, "Behold your bride." And I looked up, and I seen this woman that she had her collar up on this long trench coat, went all the way down almost to the ground, and the collar was right up almost to the top of her head. She was way off in the distance. I almost fell off the roof. But, even Hosea there, he was told he had to marry a harlot and bring forth children. So I did what I was told to do. She couldn't have children. She had 7 of them, though. A few of them, we had miscarriages. But they're going to be in, the second resurrection. They never had an opportunity for salvation, so they'll be there and they'll be raised up. Whether I make it there or not doesn't matter. Whether the ex makes it or not, it don't look like she may. Hopefully she'll get an opportunity in the second resurrection, because right now, as it was, she was created to come against me the way so many are created to come against you all. So let's pray for these ones. Let's forgive them. Satan does her job well, but hopefully they'll have an opportunity and not perish. Our King wants none to perish. In Israel, my boy, I do love you. I hope that the story that I told about you brings back some fond memories. I love everybody, and we'll see you later, and hopefully I'll get into some scriptures this next video. But right now, as I say, I still feel awful from depriving myself of the air and sucking back in that which I had, especially when I had emphysema and asthma in my life before, and I started using Eclonia Cava extract. Please take a look at it. You can get it from Swanson's right now, pretty cheap for a bottle. I make no money off these things. I spend money on them, and I've got to buy me a bunch more because there's a time going to come you can't buy or sell, it says, unless you take the mark of the beast. So it's better for me to have my Eclonia Cava extract prior, because I don't know when my other 143,999 brothers are going to be called out to where they may lay hands on me that I may be completely healed. And my teeth might even grow back. I don't know. We'll have to see that. There's some of you missing legs and arms and such that may grow back. Our king said, these things you've seen me do, you'll do in greater. He healed a fellow that was born blind. No one ever done that before. So maybe we will grow back, or by our king's power, the arms and legs and things, even the brains, where people have been, bashed in car accidents or something and lost their mental capabilities altogether. And maybe we'll be able to bring them back to where they can use their brains again, or whatever. We don't know. We're going to see, though. The prophecies are all going to come to pass before our King returns. We're going to see many things. There's not going to be a rapture. By the way, Harry, I love you, man. It's now the 3rd of May. I haven't heard from you since the 29th of April, talking about how, the rapture thing. And I love you, man. I mean, the conversations with Harry have been great. I don't know if any of y'all have seen these things or not, but we can get along, even though the doctrines are different. And Harry's doctrine is way different than my doctrine, and yet we get along so great. And it's I'm sorry, Harry, that you haven't been back in a couple days, but I guess it's because and you didn't quite agree to it or not, but I kind of put out for Harry that, if his, Jesus didn't rapture him yet. And I gave him a few days here, he's got till the 6th of May where the second Passover comes in, because he wanted more time because Jesus didn't come for the first Passover, So, Harry, I love you, man, and hopefully you'll start calling on Yahshua, on our Father Yahweh through Yahshua, and you'll start getting your prayers answered, and you'll start gaining that which you've been seeking for. And I love you all, man. You're all in my prayers. Israel, you're my son, and one day our King's going to return you to me. Megan, please put up with the boy. And remember what you put me through when you deal with your children. And with all that, I say I love all of you. I hate what some of you do, but I love you. And I pray we all gain the kingdom together. But we just must repent.